I went from $500 per day to $500 per hour. How identity shifting changed my business forever. As I'm in preparation for a workshop that I'm hosting called the Shift Workshop, I'm getting all of these downloads about identity shifting. Now, identity shifting is a concept I have been teaching one on one to my private clients for people who have been toggling back and forth with maybe a specific dynamic in their business, like a certain income level. So maybe they're having five to $7,000 months, and they're wanting $15,000 months, and they've hit that $15,000 month a time or two, but it's not consistent. It's really hit or miss. And what we do in those identity shifting sessions is we embody the new identity they need in order to make those 15K months consistent. For example, or if there is a client who's struggling in the area or challenged in the area of relationships, she continues to meet the same type of guy, and she's really wanting to meet this amazing provider, protector, uh, attention to detail, consistent type man, but it's just not happening. Oftentimes, it's not what they think that's keeping them from that. It's their identity. It's the identity that they're existing in. So during our private one on one sessions, we work on that concept of shifting identities. And so I have decided to host the shift workshop to allow more people to experience that, because previously it was just private for one on one. And as I'm getting ready for the workshop, I'm just thinking about how identity shifting changed my life. And this is impromptu, but I was thinking about how identity shifting changed my business. So there was a time where, on average, at a minimum, I was earning about $500 a day self employed, as a self employed business owner. And then I stepped into a space where $500 was what people were paying me for 1 hour. Now, that was over a decade ago when this particular transition began happening. I call it an identity shift in the making. And I say in the making because although I was having experiences where people were paying me $500 for 1 hour, what was happening, I was going to teach a workshop or a seminar or to give a talk. It wasn't as consistent as it needed to be, but there was definitely a space where I began to understand that this person that I was before, who was used to trading my time for dollars and earning $500 after working harder during the day, had to step into this new self concept to be able to see myself as someone who was even capable of making $500 in 1 hour. And I remember when I began establishing that space of being, over a decade ago, and people were reaching out to me for speaking engagements and things of that nature, and they would hear what I was then charging, which is even less than what I charge now for speaking engagements and to host workshops for corporations and things of that nature. But there were people who it was just unheard of to them. And what's so important when you meet this type of, you may call it resistance, but it's just that you have not fully stepped into being the individual that embodies being paid at that price range, because people begin to not find it strange once you now embody that. I hope this is making sense. So over time, I began to understand that I didn't have the capacity for what I was wanting to call in consistently. I only had the capacity for calling that in periodically. Now, when I began to understand how important identity shifting was for every new goal and desire that I had, I began to pay more attention. I even began to teach that space of being to my clients. I was giving my clients amazing strategies, I was giving them new insights and ideas. And even with that, there were times where things were hit and miss for them, or they were still struggling to make even these tried and true strategic steps a reality. And I began to understand that the issue wasn't because they didn't comprehend what I was saying. I work with super intelligent, ambitious women. It was because the identity that they were currently existing in was not a match for what they desired, for what they were wanting to call in. And this is when I began to make identity shifting something that I actually taught. This is when I began to break down the concept of what I did in order to transition to make it simpler for my clients. But identity shifting changed how I do business. It changed my business completely. My mentor shared with me years before I even needed the information, which is one of the things that's so beautiful about having an amazing forward thinking mentor in your life, is because they're usually speaking to the higher version of you that you may not have even caught up with yet. And when you catch up with that, you'll begin to remember things that they shared with you that they knew you would need in your journey. Now, at the time, you may not have felt that it was important, but they prepare you for the future because they see you as the highest version of yourself, or they see the version of you that you need to be. So they speak to that version, which is what I do with many of my clients, which is why I'm really focused on vision and getting them to embody and align with where they see themselves 5, 10, 15, even 20 years from now, so we can operate from that space. But my mentor shared with me that my clientele was a reflection of who I am. My gosh. Now, you may be hearing this, and maybe you hear it the way I heard it when she first shared it with me, and you'll catch it later, or maybe you caught it right now. But what I soon learned over time, because the clients that I was meeting early on, because there came a time where there was a voice in my head that was repeating the phrase she told me: your clientele is a reflection of who you are. And I began noticing that my clients weren't consistent. They weren't showing up. Now, I was on time for work, but where I was meeting them, where I was in my personal life, wasn't necessarily a consistent space in my life. And oftentimes we feel that we can call things in based on how we are in one arena. But what we're calling in is, it needs to be an energetic match for who we are. And our energy is the totality of who we are, meaning who we are behind the scenes when no one's watching, and who we are in front of the curtain when everybody is the audience. It's it's a full circle energy that you exist in and that you embody that impacts what you're calling in. Meaning, you can say one thing, but if in your thoughts and your mind and in your behavior, if any of those aspects differ, you may have hit or miss in what you're calling in. There may be more resistance in what you're calling in. There may be more challenges in what you're calling in. There may be less consistency in what you're calling in. But identity shifting changed my business tremendously. It changed the way I do business. And so I'm hearing this thought my mentor shared with me about my clientele being a reflection of who I am. And I shifted who I was being. I began to speak the language that my parents taught me. I was articulate and intelligent. And I began to speak in that manner, not using as much slang. Not that I can't use improper English from time to time, or broken English, however you want to call it. But I began to become who I wanted to attract. I attracted consistent clients. I attracted ambitious women who had resources and um, insight and foresight and connections that I didn't even know I would need for greater aspects of the journey that I was on in my life. I began to attract a different caliber of clients. They were never late. They always rescheduled. They paid and tipped and would indulge in our premium offers and all of those things. And it was because I did an identity shift. And so identity shifting has helped my business tremendously. I remember my prayer kept being on repeat, kind of like a list that you may have that you keep putting on your list every year, but you actually keep recreating the same year over and over again, but you desire something else. So my prayer kept going on the list of wanting to earn more money, less my effort. And it wasn't until I made a decision. I decided that I would create money with less of my effort. It wouldn't be this hard hustle task for me anymore. And I began to embody the person that could call money in with more ease and less my effort. Now, it did mean I had to release some of the things that I was doing, some of the things that I was saying to myself prior, because that old identity was accustomed to creating money with a whole lot more effort. And so shifting my identity changed how I do business. I remember when I began to offer more premium products in my coaching and consulting business. Now, this thought was, I'm leaving people out and I want to help everybody. But there's a reality that you won't be able to help everyone. But there is a set of perfect people that you are ideal for, that are vibrating on the level of your premium product, of the luxury that you offer, of the value that you put in the marketplace, that you are a match for. And when you begin to embody that fully, you will call them in, and it will happen with much more ease and grace. And your transformation that you offer for those clients, regardless of what it is that you do, regardless of what type of service you're providing, whether you're a realtor or whether you're a therapist or a wellness coach or a business coach or a personal stylist or a contractor, whatever sector of business you operate in the marketplace, they will begin to see your value, because your transformation will become more powerful because you embody the person that can deliver it at that capacity. Identity shifting changed the way I do business. It changed the way I get to live my life. It changed the way I get to experience my life. And so I just wanted to drop this download into the atmosphere and share with you the thoughts that I was thinking as I was, just getting my energy in space for the shift workshop. It's happening December the 5th. We will meet 3 times, once each week for 3 weeks, as I walk 10 people, only 10 people, through identity shifting. And the reason why I picked a smaller number of people is, one, this is normally a one-on-one private opportunity that I do with clients, because it is personal, because we are digging deep and shifting and changing thought patterns and things of that nature, but it's also interactive. And I wanted to be able to give the fullness of my energy to those who join us in community as we make this shift. And I'm so excited because I can already see the collective energy. I can already see the shifts transpiring at an even greater rate. My clients that I've worked with privately, that I've done these identity shifts with, have had amazing results that many people would consider instant. But I understand that energy is transferable. And so I've been transferring energy to my clients Once they become aware and they're open, the shift happens. So I can only imagine how this is going to be when we get to operate in that collective energy together inside the shift workshop. I just wanted to share because whenever I am aligning myself with the work that I do and something that I'm about to share, I began getting downloads. And this time I just decided to share that identity shifting changed my business. I went from $1,000 products being the highest product to $6,000 being my highest product over 5 years ago within a week. And within 3 weeks to a month, I'd signed 10 people, 60K was the highest amount of sales I'd made in a short amount of time because I shifted my identity. I decided that I was a coach that was calling people in at that level. Of course, since then, I've gone on, I have clients who pay me that in cash. To this day, I've had a six-figure client since that time. And so identity shifting changed my business tremendously. And I'm in a personal identity shift at this time, and it has been going absolutely amazing. But there are some things, maybe like you, that were not consistent in my life that I absolutely love that were happening. I just desired for it to be a normalcy. And so I knew an identity shift was necessary. And it's been absolutely amazing. I can't wait to share this energy with you. I can't wait to share space and community with you as we shift. If you are one of the 10, reach out. At this time, there may be a Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday offer going on that's um, a little less than what the regular cost is, but either way, it's absolutely an amazing opportunity for you to join us for the Shift Workshop. If you've been having challenges, if you've been carrying things over on your list from year to year, if you have been toggling with this specific income goal or meeting the same type of person for intimacy, dating, relationships, marriage, and you desire something different. It's identity. It's an identity shift that you need to make. That's my take on today. Peace and abundance.